Sound check. Brian Alston, can you hear me?
Yes, Deb, I can.
Thank you very much. We'll be starting the meeting in a few minutes. Thank you.
Welcome, everyone. I'm going to call the Finance Committee of the Cook County Health and Hospital System to order. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Director Green? Present. Director Harrington?
Present.
Director Lowry?
Present.
Director Robinson?
Present.
Chair Ryder?
Here, Ryder is here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Do we have anyone from the committee that's participating remotely?
We do not.
The next regularly scheduled meeting of the Finance Committee is scheduled for Thursday, March 6th at 10 a.m. Deb, is there anyone registered to provide in-person or virtual oral testimony?
We did not receive any registrations nor any written testimony.
Okay. Do we have, I never remember to do this, do we have any members of the public who wish to speak? All right. We're going to go on to our first item, the Finance Committee meeting minutes of January 17th, 2025. These were approved by the board at the January meeting, but are being presented for the committee's review and discussion if necessary. Are there any corrections that need to be made to the minutes? Any corrections? Any corrections? Hearing none, although, is there a motion to accept the minutes as written?
So moved.
Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Items under the Chief Procurement Officer. That's you, Charles. Introducing the Chief Procurement Officer of the Cook County Health and Hospital System, Charles Jones.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Charles Jones, Chief Procurement Officer, Cook County Health. Before you, this one, actually, item number 6 will be withdrawn. So we have 12 items to present that require responsive letters from the Office of Contract Compliance. We have 10 back and 2 in process.
Well, it looks like the first two items to be considered are under Health Plan Services, and presenting is going to be Aaron Gleaner, our Chief Administrative Officer for Health Plan Services. Aaron?
Excuse me, Chair Ryder. For the record, I'll be abstaining and will later vote present on request number 2 under the contract and procurement items.
Thank you. We will note that for the record. Aaron?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, directors. The first item here is a $2.5 million one-year extension for funding through, 2-year extension for funding through the Flexible Housing Pool. This is a program that we partner with to provide permanent supportive housing to county care members. We currently have a number of individuals that are being supported through that housing program, and that this will allow for those services to continue. And then item number 2 is for our population health monitoring program. This is a 6-month extension, $675,000 to allow for the services to continue to our members while we are going through an RFP process. We expect that RFP process will conclude here over the next few months, and then a decision will be made at that time. With that, happy to answer any questions on these 2 items.
Any questions for Aaron on items 1 or 2? Hearing none, thank you, Aaron. We're now going to move to items 3 through 5 under clinical. Dr. Kamapoli, our interim chief medical officer, will be presenting.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Ryder and directors. I'll be presenting 3 contracts. The first request is to extend and increase a contract in the sum just under $16.37 million with Maxim Physician Resources for locum tenens staffing. This contract will be used by several of our clinical physician services, anesthesia, refugee health, psychiatry, ACHN, and it's for a 12-month term, extending through February 2026. Importantly, I would like to point out that this contract is totally separate from a contract which came to the board last year for Maxim Health Services, which was for transporters, service supervisors, dispatchers, call centers, and several other staff. So this is what I'm presenting today is a totally separate contract from that other contract. This is for providers, physicians, clinical registered nurse assistants, advanced practice nurses, and physician assistants. Thank you. The second request is to extend and increase a contract with Flexicare for the provision of single-use video laryngoscopes. This contract is for a sum not to exceed $49,000, and we're actually exercising the first renewal option of a previously existing contract. This equipment will be used by our anesthesia physicians. Next. And the last request is to execute a contract in an amount not to exceed $494,232 with Boston Scientific Corporation for the provision of laser systems for use of our urologists both here and at Providence Hospital for the treatment of kidney stones. This will be for one-time capital equipment purchase and then a 48-month service contract running through financial year 2029.
All right. Any questions for Dr. Kamapoli?
And this is going to come to vote when we move for all of them later, or?
Yes. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Request number 6 is withdrawn just as a procedural note that, we just had some more discussion that came up after the briefing, and we'll be, we're bumping it potentially to just the full board meeting. We're now going to move to request 7 through 8. Presenting is Scott Spencer, our Associate Chief Financial Officer. it's not Scott.
Good morning.
All right, I gotta look up. All right, Curtis.
Great, thank you. Good morning. Curtis Haley, Chief Revenue Officer. The first request.
Hang on, just so everyone's clear, Scott's here.
He is here. He's further down the agenda. All right, the first request is to extend and increase our current contract with the Electa. Electa provides cancer registry software for us to use. The request is to extend for 1 year to allow us to go to the market through RFP. And the second request is a request to extend and increase our current contract with System Innovators. It's a payment processing solution. This request is to allow us time to implement a newly selected vendor through RFP, give us time to get them up and running, and once they are, we will request termination of this contract.
Any questions for Curtis? Hearing none, thank you, Curtis. We're now going to move to request number 9, Health Information Systems, being presented by Angela O'Banion, our Chief Information Officer. You're getting an award or something, aren't you?
I am Chicago Defender Women of Excellence
That's awesome.
in March. Thank you for acknowledging
Congratulations.
her. Just joining the rest of our colleagues and all the great work we're doing. Thank you. The item before you, MCG, is an extend and increase. MCG is a decision-based guidelines tool that we use here at Cook County Health. The tool allows us to ensure that a number of things in care management, that we're meeting insurance criteria for admission, maximizing our reimbursements for the care being provided. Again, it's an evidence-based decision support tool.
All right. Any questions for Angela? If not, thank you, Angela. Thank you. Moving on to nursing, request number 10, Dr. Peters, Dina Peters, our Chief Nursing Executive.
Good morning, directors. The request in front of you is to add funding to the existing VIA agency contract. VIA agency contract support the nursing staff as well as the nursing support staff across the system, while we are actively recruiting to fill the nursing position as well as the support staff position.
Where are we at with, and I don't know, are we getting a report on all the nursing stuff later?
We are not.
Because we're adding that to our agency discussion. Okay, so because this is a pretty big increase, can we walk through where we're at on nurse agency and where we're at in terms of hiring and whatnot, and what the expansion, how this expansion fits in with that?
Yeah. So if you look at the trend, nursing agency utilization decreased by 18.5%, since 2003. While we are actively recruiting those agency as regular staff, we are using the agency. From expansion perspective, also we are using agency staff to address the increased census within the acute care setting. If I reflect back, our current census is about 5%, the budget. We also using agency staff to support the crisis intervention unit that will be opening shortly, mid-March. So all those are over and above the projection that we did the beginning of the FY24.
So and maybe this is a question for Wynn. I believe the last time we got an update from you and Carrie on this issue was that we were meeting and slightly exceeding our attrition rate, that we were getting into positive territory. Are we maintaining that? Are we getting ahead of the attrition rate by more? Where are we at in terms of keeping staffing levels through agency, but growing our, you know, filling vacancies more than just trying to keep up with the bleed.
Yeah, so I think we're relatively flat in terms of in and out. And I know that in the coming months, the conversion is going to swing to the very positive side. Whitney, I don't know if you want to add any more. Correct, and we'll talk a little bit more about this during, I think we'll have an agency update. Not specifically focused on nursing, but overall, we've seen our agency numbers go down. That's because we've been very specific and deliberate about what we've done with the settlement agreements.
Okay. We just don't have, it's different from nursing because those settlement agreements are
Correct.
covering different positions.
Right,
But
and we know that the challenges we're having with nursing, we're gonna have to address those. So I understand in the past, we've used accelerated hiring to help alleviate that, and that is something that we're looking to bring back within the next 60 days.
okay, all right, great.
I have a question. How many people are we talking about and over what period of time? I mean, are we gonna spend this in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? I mean, I know it says FY 20, so we're spending it for fiscal year 25, we're spending $62 million.
Yes, the request is to up to $62 million by the end of the existing contract, which is October of 2025.
Okay, and how, what are the numbers? I mean, I'm trying to get a sense of scale. How many people are we talking about?
So if you look at the nursing, we are seeing an average of 550 to 600 vacancies exist within the nursing structure. So that's the one, we are using the contract to, you know, supplement the staffing. So we are talking about, you know, replacing around 600 positions using agency within nursing.
And does that include the expansion that we're talking about with like the crisis innovation? Because we're using this to, do we have PIDs associated with that to fill?
Yes. So crisis intervention expansion is part of it, and we have PIDs, and we are actively recruiting. And in fact, I think there are 2 or 3 offers went out, so that's part of it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So does that answer your question?
It's closer. Still a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
Here's a question, Chair. What happened that we stopped the expedient hiring? What caused us to stop? It was working well.
My understanding is that was a pilot, so we could only use it for a limited amount of time.
But I think we asked this question before, and it said it was a pilot, but we were going straight into it. So why is there a delay? I don't understand that.
I don't want to step into labor relations, but my guess is that when the pilot ended, it had to be renegotiated because I'm guessing the hospital system, you know, wanted the pilot program, and the nurses union, who are our partners in this, also want to make sure that when we do the expedited hiring, that we're not just throwing their seniority rights and their bumping ability into chaos. So it's always a more complicated, you know, conversation than just like extend it, because we have to make sure that everybody's in alignment. That would be my assumption.
I believe those are good assumptions, but I can tell you that we do understand how important it is, and we are going to get this back on track. So we are working through the necessary steps to put it back in place.
Okay, let me ask the obvious question. If we had a pilot, we had to take those considerations into account at that time. So what happened in between taking them into time at the beginning of the pilot and then at the end of the pilot, now making it permanent? What changed? Because those considerations had to be taken into account.
Correct me if I'm misspeaking, but I think there were 2 things going on. I think first is making permanent within the EPO as policy updates and making sure, and there was also an effort to expand beyond just nursing. And then the other piece is that we were working through all the conversion stuff, which ate most of HR's time to make the offers. There were time constraints within each of the settlement agreements. So having to work through all of that had everybody kind of shift attention there, because it was, you know, hundreds of people that we were trying to make offers to and bring on board. And the team will get into that when we go through the agency conversion discussion. But that was a Herculean effort. So.
And the hospital, again, does not have the unilateral authority to just do it. So what I'm hearing is that we're on since I opened this discussion, what I'm hearing is that we're on track, we're flat now, and we're on track to hit the gas pedal again.
That is correct.
Right. Good job. All
Thank
right.
you.
All right, next we have request number 11, Operations Development, Craig Williams, our Chief Administrative Officer.
Good morning, Craig Williams, Chief Administrative Officer. This request is an execute contract for $2,006,680. It's a 24-month contract period, 3/1/25 through 2/28/27. And this company, LivaNova, provides vagal nerve stimulators that our neurosurgery department implants to patients with intractable epilepsy. We've implanted these sparingly over the past 2 years, and they're seeing great success in improving patients' lives. The device has taken some epileptic patients from dozens of seizure events daily down to 1 or 2 of them, and live them a much more normal life. So we're asking to enter into this contract and make this available to even more patients. It is a sole source because it's the only vendor that provides this device.
Any questions for Craig?
One question.
Sure.
This sounds fantastic. Has anyone looked at by improving the lives of those individuals, how much hospital cost is being decreased as a result of giving them back that flexibility?
I'm not sure that we've had enough volume. This technology's been around for about 10 years. I know there's been some studies done on that, so I could try to pull those and circulate them around.
Just curious, because it has to have a positive impact on the bottom line. Surely on their lives, without a doubt, but on the bottom line,
Yeah, I mean,
it helps.
generally epilepsy is not a big inpatient volume disease. It actually is more of a drugs and kind of ongoing care type of issue.
But given that they're coming through here, the drug costs.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
that's, thanks.
Yeah. I think the data that would be helpful is data that doesn't necessarily reside here, but, you know, what it looks like, you know, in experiential data across the country.
Yeah, I'll take a look and see what I can.
That's, all right, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sounds like a good story. All right, next, our Chief Strategy Officer, Andrea Gibson. We don't often hear from Andrea, in this forum, so this is great.
Well, happy to be here.
Our former Chief Business Officer.
That's right. Andrea Gibson, Chief Strategy Officer. This contract before you today is a request to extend the contract for Workboard, which is the system that we use to track and manage our strategic plan initiatives and tactics. So for 2 years to the end of 2026.
Any questions for Andrea?
Oh, and to increase, I forgot to
increase,
mention. Thank you, Charles.
Yeah.
All right.
Any
Thank
questions
you.
for Andrea? Hearing none, thank you. We're getting all the players here today. Now we got Donna Goss and Kathy, our Chief Hospital Executive, at that building right over there. So.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, Directors.
Good morning.
Morning.
The contract before us today is an extend and increased contract with Beckman Coulter for flow cytometry equipment rental and reagents in the amount not to exceed $461,465. The revised contract period of 3/1/2025 through 2/28/2026. This vendor provides instruments and reagents needed for our flow cytometry testing by our pathology department. This is a sole source due to the equipment's existing interface with our laboratory equipment.
Are there any questions for Donica on request number 13? Hearing none, thank you. All right. We have, first I'm gonna make ask for a motion, and then I know that we're gonna have, some members of the committee that are going to want to recuse themselves from different items. So first, is there a motion to approve item 4A, contracts and procurement items containing request number 1 through 13, with the exception of request number 6, which was withdrawn and subject to completion of review by contract compliance. And I'm looking at Director Lowry, because I don't believe he has any issues with any of these items.
So moved.
Chair. Yeah.
Second.
Motion's been made and properly seconded. Are there any items, before I call for just general discussion, are there any items that directors would like to recuse themselves from under these requests?
Chair Ryder, for the record, I'd like to vote present on items 3 and 10.
3 and 10.
Request number 3 and 10.
All right, and Sam, I believe you indicated you had some as well.
I would like to vote present on item number 2, under the contract procurement items.
Thank you, directors. Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right. Charles, we're going to move on to the MBE-WBE report, unless you have anything else under this portion.
No, sir.
Okay. All right. So let's move on to the MBE-WBE report, and let me just say, as we move to this item, I want to, the effort that Charles, his team, and the downtown team from the county do on working towards achieving our goals are important. They have impact. They have positive impact not only on the people who we are able to get into the program, but it has a broader community impact and makes us stronger here in the county, in the city, the state, everything. And I'm very proud of the work that we do in this space. And obviously, we can always do better, and we can always have better goals. But the thing that I want to make sure that, as a statement on our current, on the current conversations that have around issues involving diversity, equity, and inclusion, that I will fight to the death to make sure that we continue to have programs like this for diverse businesses, and also make sure that we maintain our diverse practices within our organization for our employees and our staff.
Thank you, sir. And I totally concur. We can always do better as we strive to work this out. So what you have for you are the contracts for $150,000 and over that came to this board from January through October. You've seen everything up to September. What we've added this time, if you look 2 columns on the right, is October. And those 35 contracts that we bought during the month of October, 12 of them had contract-specific goals for $219.2 million. Of that, 6 were prime vendors and $1.81 million. 5 of those vendors were subcontractors for $40.47 million. Unfortunately, I like to say unfortunate when it gets to waivers, because we do all our due diligence to do pre-assigned goals, but sometimes waivers do happen. So we did have one waiver for $12.3 million, the contract that we brought to you for outpatient dialysis and inpatient dialysis and hemodialysis services that Providence, with the 17.5% goal, did not have participation. So therefore, roughly 19% was our percentage for October. Looking all the way to the right, with year-to-date for those 11 months of the year, 87 contracts and $746 million had goals on them. 14 of those were prime for $8.5 million. 56 of them for $179 million, 179.9 actually, had goals as well. So we awarded last year, year-to-date October, 70 contracts, 188.4 million, or 25% for that time period. And there were 17 waivers during the year, so a little bit, 11 months, a little bit average of like one and a half waivers per month.
rolling forward. The next slide is yes, Director Harrington.
Yeah, I see on the bottom left side, there's the Cook County aspirational goals. At some point, and you don't need to do it today, it'd be good to know where we are relative to our aspirational goals. On the bottom left-hand corner. Not now, because you didn't come here to do it, but it'd be nice to see where we are.
Yeah. So what I give you during the month is obviously preliminary. The Office of Contract Compliance, which oversees it, will come a little bit later, probably late summer, early fall, and we'll do the overall for the entire year. They normally present it to the Board of Commissioners first, and then they'll be here to present.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions there? So the second slide is a bar chart visual with the 19% for October and 25% for year to date. Any questions? Any further?
I don't have a question, but I think that's very important. You know, we historically track participation against aspirational goals, which is important. But we also have to look at spend, the percentage of spend. Where is that going? So I love this chart. And when we look at some type of summation relative to participation over the last 12 months, whatever the measurement or measuring period will be, I also would like us to be able to identify the percentage of spend going to MWBEs, et cetera. Okay?
Yes, and that's here.
No, and I like it. I'm applauding that.
Thank you.
I'm just saying that I don't just want to see it month to month.
Right.
I want to see it, you know, when we put together our report for the entirety of the year. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Yep. Is there any other questions?
You've heard this before, but I'm gonna channel it for him because he's not here. As I'm, channeling my good friend, the late Dr. Dennis Deere, and say, well done.
Yeah.
Well done. All right.
And he would also say, no doubt.
No doubt.
True.
All right. We have one, you want to do the emergency purchase now, Charles?
Yes, sir. So we had one emergency purchase for the month of January that was presented to Board Chair Taylor and Finance Chair Wright on January 2nd. It was to provide physician advisory coverage in clinical reviews and appeal preparations related to our recovery audit contractors, which is the RAC program. And this is on behalf of the Department of General Medicine. A vendor was Aerolib Healthcare Solutions, LLC, a 12-month contract for $1 million.
Any questions on the emergency purchase? Hearing none. All right. Next, thank you, Charles.
Thank you.
We're going to now move to items under the Chief Financial Officer and pinch hitting for Pam. This is the second time you're on my sheet. I'm just saying. But now our Associate Chief Financial Officer, Scott Spencer. I believe first we have proposed resolutions authorizing signatory changes for the following Cook County Health Bank accounts held at Chase Bank, Oak Forest Health Center, depository account, the John H. Stroger Hospital, the Cook County checking and our savings accounts, and the Provident Hospital Cook County checking and our savings account accounts as amended. And I believe there's an edit that was made to the Provident resolution. So why don't you bring this home for us?
Sure. Good morning, Associate CFO Scott Spencer. So yeah, we've got the three resolutions presented for your consideration and approval. The purpose of updating the signatories, or the purpose being for updating the signatories for the various CCH bank accounts held at Chase. And so from time to time, staff changes necessitate the updating of signatories on the accounts, and these proposed changes include updating the accounts with Dr. Makaitis as a signatory. Specific to Provident, on the resolution, we did make one small modification, removing one of the individuals authorized to make transfers.
Any questions for Scott on the resolutions? Hearing none, I would ask for a motion to approve item 5A, the three proposed resolutions as amended, authorizing signatory changes for the Cook County Health Bank accounts held at Chase Bank, for the Oak Forest Health Center's depository account, the John H. Stroger Jr. Hospital of Cook County checking and/or savings accounts, and Provident Hospital of Cook County checking and/or savings accounts. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Grant award related items. Scott?
Yes. So in front of you, we've got a total of 5 awards, rather 4, for a total of just under 1.6 million, and then one small de-obligation of 106,000. Of the 4 awards, 3 of them are through the Chicago Department of Public Health for just around 1.2 million.
Any questions on the grant award related items? Hearing none, is there a motion to receive and file item 5B, the grant award related items?
So moved, Chair.
Motion's made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right. The next, Scott, let's do the December financials.
All right. So thank you. We've got 1 month of activity for fiscal 25. On an accrual basis, we are 21 million unfavorable to budgets. On a cash basis, 135 million unfavorable. The unfavorability being driven by net patient service revenue due to lower than budgeted volumes, mostly due to budget spread and having a handful of providers on leave. We also had the holiday in the month of December that had an impact as well. The county care, the health plan coming in for the month just under 2 million unfavorable. However, membership remains strong at over 419,000. Next slide. So again, just starting at the top and working our way down, net patient service revenue unfavorable of 20 million, but as you add in the favorability on the capitation revenue of just under 10 million, excuse me, total revenue unfavorable by 11 million. And as we work down through the expenses, salaries and benefits favorable by 11 million, medical claims unfavorable by 16. So in aggregate, total operating expenses unfavorable by just under 10. So combining those two, the net income, or net loss rather, unfavorable by 21 million for the month. Next slide. Yeah, so taking a look at our volumes here, average daily census at Stroger of 317, so effectively at target. Provident behind by about 10, but we did have 2 observation units that didn't get opened as soon as we had planned. ER visits at both facilities a little bit shy of target, but effectively at budget. And then surgeries behind at both facilities. However, we did again, it's due mostly to the budget spread and a handful of providers, particularly at Provident, being on leave. So as we work down to ACHN, our outpatient, our primary care and specialty care, so roughly 42,800 in total, which is shy of the budget of 52, but as we've gone back and looked at the volumes that include the late charges and the visits that are associated with those late charges, the total's about 46,000. So thinking as the year progresses, that gap will continue to close. Next slide, please. Yes, thanks. So here, as you're familiar with, the graph showing that our volumes have been stable over the last few years. And then in the top left-hand corner, our inpatient admits and outpatient visits have increased over time. Payer mix. So, and again, just a reminder, this slide kind of, reset, so to speak, with the beginning of the new fiscal year. This is, it's 1 month of activity. So the Medicaid at 52.4% for the month of December. However, when we look at a rolling average of the last 12 months, we're closer to 60%. So, and then last month we reported 56, which I think is more of the sweet spot of where we truly sit as far as Medicaid goes. Next slide. So on the revenue cycle side,
I think just really important, again, since we talk about the rolling numbers, just so everybody, I think everybody here understands this, but it's just to put it out in the atmosphere. Medicaid's real money, right? And we have the highest, probably, Medicaid population, in the state, in the Midwest. And we're supposed to. That's the population that a public health system is supposed to serve. We love private insurers. We work with, to be here for the public in the ways that we can be. But we are essentially a system that's built to take care of people that are on receive Medicaid, and or that we get Medicaid reimbursements for. So everything that's looming around us, we have to hold true to our mission and understand in terms of how we use our voice as a system and how we use our voices individually to support the system. This is about, these types of structures are facing an existential threat, and it's not that we can run away from our Medicaid population. That is who we are here to serve. And to the extent that we have charity care, those are people that we should be, trying to fit into the system, trying to fix the system, because of the people that fall in between the cracks in the Medicaid private insurance system. So just wanted to make sure that we say these things out loud. So.
Yeah, I want to make an observation. The numbers are small, but the number of commercially insured patients has been increasing consistently. And I would make the speculative statement that probably means that 8.2% chose to come here, and if they chose to come here, they like what we do. And so I know we provide quality services, and that's an indication of our doing so.
I think that's a worthy observation.
I have a question back on page 4 with the ACHN. I see we're below numbers across the board, but what really catches my attention is the primary care visits and specialty visits. Those missing it, because that's a pretty good way to get revenue in. Do we know why?
So I can jump in from a budgetary standpoint. We take the all-in year number and divide by 12. And unfortunately, in December, we have multiple holidays. People take vacation around the holiday, right? So clinics are not as busy. They don't tend to be. So we're anticipating that as the year kind of balances out in terms of the averages, we'll be catching up, but December was a slow month.
And remember, this is a 1-month number.
And Craig Williams, Chief Administrative Officer, I would add to that, the Wednesday holidays is kind of the worst possible scenario you can have in terms of a holiday week. And so we've looked week by week, and the week of Christmas and the 2 days before January 31st, we're about 40% of what we usually see during those weeks. So not only do we lose the actual days, but the days leading up to that, we either had providers that took the whole week off, for school vacation week, or patients who just didn't want to come to the doctors because they were traveling or other things. That's a trend that we tend to see across the industry around that Wednesday holiday when it falls like that.
So the numbers we're looking at are representative of December primarily? Okay, okay. Thank you.
The other thing I would say that's in there too is, we've seen a massive reduction in our refugee health center, cost center. And so that's also inherent in those numbers. So the 20% miss on primary care, or 18% miss, is about 11% the Wednesday holidays, and the remainder is the, refugee health.
Okay, so now that's,
That'll be a consistent miss throughout the entire year.
and I was wondering if that was in there actually.
It is. Yep.
So I can understand the norms, but that's not a norm. And that's what I think, at the last meeting, we tried to address that issue because of being able to get access to those folks who are, for the most part, fearful of their lives at this point in time.
Craig,
How we're able to try and extend that care to them.
do you want to talk about the virtual efforts?
I will. So two different issues. The refugee health clinic at Belmont Cragen was our response to the migrants coming from the border and needing to have initial health screenings and things like that. We've just seen with the transition in power, we've just seen less migrants coming to Chicago. In fact, the city has ceased their landing zone operations, and they put that more into a one shelter operation. And so our Belmont Cragen clinic, as a result, on the second floor, which was set up for that sole purpose, has really starting to cease operations. We're getting to a point where we're making some decisions there. In terms of immigration and folks' fear of ICE, we're monitoring a couple things. We're looking at no-shows specifically week by week across all our clinics to make sure that we're not seeing any increase in no-shows. Things have held pretty steady for the month of January, very small sample size. We've also instructed all of our clinics, if they have patients that are calling to cancel or reschedule because of immigration fears, that we can convert those visits to virtual care. And we do that for other issues like I don't have daycare today, I can't get out of work. And so we've just made sure that they're mindful that that may be something new we're seeing so that they can react to it.
Okay, and you may have partially answered the second question. Are we extending those type of services to our population who have been here for life? Whether they be documented, whether they be a U.S. citizen, but being able to offer that telehealth visit can really reduce a lot of the problems and maybe increase our problems with getting individuals vaccinated as well, if we can create that type of engagement and communication with them.
Yeah, so we do it in many different ways. Like I mentioned, when people express concerns about being able to arrive day of, we offer that option. We also, many times when we see a snowstorm coming, we'll convert a lot of our visits to telehealth, because we know people aren't going to be able to travel in the snow. So we take that opportunity. We've also set up the express care, which we're really trying to build into our call center operations. So when someone calls and is looking to have a visit because they might have a sore throat or they have the flu, rather than put them out into a visit that's 3 weeks away where that issue may have been resolved, we're trying to develop some workflows where we can get them into express care virtually in real time, potentially get, a prescription written or something else that could help address that issue, and then really leave those in-person visits for the most crucial patients that need care.
Now, that sounds fantastic. And if we can keep the numbers on it, that'd be quite interesting to.
The numbers are low now, but it's going to build steady throughout this year. And I think, probably at some point we should bring this to either finance committee or board.
And maybe that's where Alex, she's not in the room. Oh, there you are. Maybe she can help us out.
She has been helping.
Okay, fantastic.
That is great. I just want to say one more thing. I love how the key volume and revenue indicators historically have, and this is all good, and we all kind of get this information ahead of time and can look at it, but how you highlight in the previous report and then every other report here, anytime we're kind of in a negative, you've been highlighting that in red. I know that changed with this one, but I think that would help. And then I think I mentioned we're looking at December. This is my first year, so I'm assuming the report that would tell me a little bit about ebb and flow would be the February report from last year, which I wasn't here. So I did put in a request to see kind of that ebb and flow, because I'm sure some of you have seen the ebbs and flows in these numbers based on the month that I haven't seen. So I think that would be, give us a little insight into kind of typically what December looks like historically. Because as you said, we're looking at a snapshot.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, no, that's, we can make that change as far as the highlighting goes, and provide that information for you. And cover anything else that, you'd like to, see more information on.
And thank you, you've been doing I think the team has been doing an excellent job. I know I've had some questions about some other things you all sent them in. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and just want to add, so a sneak peek, for the January volumes is that, they're up from December. So, obviously, as we close the month and, present next month, hope to see some improvement with things. So, okay to move on? Yep, okay. All right, so, looking at, our can you go back one slide? Sorry, Deb. Yeah, the revenue cycle. So, good news here. We do have, the AR days and the AR over 90 in particular, continues to be above the targets. However, just, a reminder that the rev cycle team is still working through those Change Healthcare denials, and as those payments come in the door, those indicators will turn green, or those boxes will turn green over the next, in the coming months. Next slide. So, similar, or same explanation here, November, December, denials above the target. January, again, a sneak peek, from what I understand, when we look at the reports next month, we'll see that the denials have come back to the target, either back to the target or below the target, actually. Thank you, Chris. So next slide. Yeah. So, the charitable and public program expenditures, again, just 1 month into the year. So as far as what we're seeing, projecting the same amount that we had budgeted, so $545 million in total, of which $233 million of that anticipated to be charity care. Savings initiatives. So we're budgeted just under $29 million for the year. Out of the gate, a little bit slow on that, but nothing on the page that we don't anticipate will be in good shape by the end of the year. And then last slide for county care. So again, just showing the operating loss of just under $2 million. However, also showing that the county care membership continues to be better than budget. And that's my report. Happy to answer any other questions you might have.
I always find it interesting. This is because the way you budget things and until you've worked in a system like this or worked with accounting in this type of way, accrual accounting, is that when you do better than expected in terms of patient volumes and revenue coming in, you show negative numbers on operational expenses because you budgeted for a less robust system. So when you look at numbers in a vacuum, like, why is there a negative number there? Well, because the number over here is green. So, I appreciate the work we're doing. We've consistently, and I know that we adjust our budgets year to year to accomplish, to record and plan for those successes and to build on them. And we continue to exceed our goals. And that's why, again, getting back to my earlier comment, we have to remain vigilant and fight for the system that we have.
Any other, they're applauding.
Here's a flag.
Any questions for Scott? Hearing none, thank you, Scott. And, while Scott's, we transition between Scott and our next presentation, I'm gonna acknowledge, one of my favorite county commissioners from the south side, Commissioner Stanmore. All right, at the table, we have, Wynn Buren and, Craig Williams, and I believe you guys are here to present our monthly report on agency, reduction.
Good afternoon, Wynn Buren, or good morning, Wynn Buren, Chief Human Resource Officer. We'll go over the current state of hiring and separation. There have been 452 offers made. From the 452 offers made, there were 323 accepted offers. From those 323, we filled 129 positions. This includes 43 internal candidates and 86 external candidates of joined Cook County Health. The organization has seen 87 separations, resulting in an overall net loss of 1 employee at Cook County. We've got a 77% offer acceptance rate. Next slide. So current state of agency use. From September to January, we've seen a significant reduction in agency full-time equivalent usage, moving from 1,352 FTEs in September to 1,027 FTEs. This represents a decrease of over 325 FTEs in our 4 months. Most of the downward trend can be attributed to a targeted reduction in agency use for specific titles. The graph shows a reduction in FTEs for some of the highest utilizing departments, compares the agency usage across 2 periods. Building service workers decreased from 138 FTEs to 113. Clerk 5 positions saw a reduction. Medical assistants dropped, as did transporters. Yes.
Is that a reduction of people becoming employees here?
That we have not transitioned them yet into that role. That's coming up shortly, but we've also been very careful about how we limit the amount of agency folks coming in.
One question, I'm sorry, on slide 4. Director Green, is this the slide that you asked the question about?
Yeah, this is a slide I asked a question about. I think, what it came to was, correct me if I'm wrong, the goal initially was today, but with everything going on, we moved the actualization of that information to March, correct?
Correct.
So it's still coming. Thank you.
Next slide. Okay, so since early December, the HR department has been focused on recruiting full-time staff and converting agency workers to CCH staff to minimize our reliance on external agencies. A total of 237 offers were made and 193 were accepted. That is about an 81% acceptance rate. Over 30% of the agency staff working in roles covered by the settlement agreements have been converted. Have agreed to convert. We remain focused on filling vacant positions by converting additional agency workers to full-time employees and addressing remaining vacancies. We've done direct outreach to agency personnel and held agency worker hiring events in December and January. Another follow-up agency hiring event is planned for mid-February. Recruiters are actively conducting outreach to promote these events and encouraging agency workers to participate. When those efforts are exhausted, HR will work on targeted recruitment efforts for external applicants, including social media outreach and hiring fairs, to help ensure we're taking advantage of every opportunity to staff CCH.
And just going back, number of PIDs, that's the number of people, that's the number of positions that are available to be filled that are otherwise filled by agency or vacant. Or the one-to-one numbers.
No, so then the number of PIDs is the number of actual positions we have in each of those unions.
Okay.
The offers made.
I thought we had more than 500 SEIU overall.
I don't think so.
Is that, okay, all right. You know that number better than I do.
Next slide. So this talks about this slide kind of shows our agency conversion plan.
The goal is over the coming months and weeks to onboard the agency folks into CCH, so complete the conversion. So we have orientations between now and going February 10th, February 24th, March 10th, March 24th, and into April and in May. Our goal is to get a significant amount of these folks through within these hiring classes. So right now we're making sure that we take advantage of each hiring class or each onboarding class and putting as many agency folks through there as possible. And we're going to transition over to a bit of a...
Let's pause here for a second. I think we're trying to...
Yeah, I just wanted to, I think it's the 500 plus is actually the positions we're trying to fill. It's
That's
not-
right.
We have more in
You're correct.
CIU than the 500.
That's what I was trying to...
You're right, I was wrong on that one.
Good, all right.
And then I'm going to transition this to Dr. Sprenka to go over our Hectone transition.
Morning, directors. Thank you, Wayne. So I'm pleased to update. Please provide an update on.
Thank you for committing to March for that.
I'm pleased to provide an update on the Hectone transition. So the Hectone transition is proceeding in 4 waves, and each quadrant of this table shows the status of each of those 4 waves. Wave 1 had a transition date of January 1st. There were 5 awards. All 5 awards have been fully transferred. It also involved 31 staff who received layoff notice from Hectone. 26 of the 31 have joined MEDEX. Wave 2 has an effective date of February 1st. There were 4 awards in this wave. Those awards have also been transferred and set up. There's a little bit of budget setup still ongoing, should be completed by the end of today. And there are 6 people who received layoff notices, and all 6 have started at MEDEX. Wave 3 has an effective date of 3/1. There are 2 awards in this wave, and 31 staff have received layoff notices. Because this wave is still in the effective date is still in the future, we can't report on all those that have started at MEDEX, but 26 of the 31 have accepted the offers, and we're expecting them, they'll start on March 1st. Wave 4, his effective date is 4/1. There's 6 awards in that tranche. All of these awards are progressing nicely. We're waiting for approvals from some of the sponsors on our transfer applications. We're hopeful that we'll get those final approvals in the next few weeks. That will allow us to kind of complete the timely transition of these 6 awards. There are 40 staff in this wave, and all of them received layoff notices, and we're on track to onboard as many of them as we can. It's too early to say how many fully accepted. So far, 8 have accepted, but the other 32 are still pending. This week was the week we kind of gave out the offers, and we're expecting, by the end of next week, the vast majority of them will have accepted the offers. Happy to take any questions.
So my first question is, I also understand, hopefully this will also clarify for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about. So the folks at Hectone that are going over to MEDEX are eventually coming, the intent is to have those positions then converted to Cook County Health positions. So this chart tells me us onboarding the Hectone employees over to MEDEX, which is essentially our agency for taking over the operation. But then the goal is to convert those agency positions to the position PIDs that we're creating here. So what's that next? What's wave 5 through 8 look like?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, just briefly, what we're showing is kind of what's, kind of most central right now. But for each of these ways, we're preparing also to transition staff from medics to CCH. Our HR partners at CCH are really taking the lead on that part of the journey. It involves creating job descriptions, PIDs, posting, arranging interviews, and things like that, checking for minimum qualifications, and then eventually onboarding. And, all of that considerable work is well underway and is being overseen by RJ, part of HR. We do expect that that most MedX colleagues will be at MedX for between 2 and 3 months total before they transition over to regular employment at CCH.
Okay.
Quick question. So, people in wave one, we anticipate, we got the transition date, that's from Tecton to Medic. And then, from what I'm hearing, we anticipate the transition date from Medic to us would be April 2025?
By April 1st, yes, we expect, all those that are at MedX from wave one will transition to CCH.
Thank you.
That actually concludes our update. Any other questions?
Oh, any questions? Hearing none. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. And with that, we have exhausted the agenda, so we stand adjourned. Thank you. Thank you.